They laughed at her, but her silence was louder than any rank. It was a quiet morning in the city. People were rushing to their offices, buses were full, and the air was filled with the sound of horns and tired footsteps. At the corner of a busy park, a woman sat alone on a bench. She wore a long brown coat. Her shoes were worn out. Her hair was tied back in a simple bun. A small backpack sat beside her feet. She didn't speak to anyone. She didn't ask for anything. She just sat there, calm and silent. Two young police officers passed by. One of them looked at her and laughed. "Another crazy homeless lady," he said. "Let's have some fun." They walked toward her. One of them tapped his stick on the bench. "Hey, move along. You can't sit here." The woman looked at them but didn't speak. The second officer smirked. "Oh, she's one of the quiet types. You think she understands English?" Still no reply. The first officer got annoyed. "Hey, I said get up." He grabbed her arm roughly, but the woman gently pulled away. "I'm not disturbing anyone," she said softly. Her voice was calm, too calm. The officers didn't like that. "You people think you can just sit wherever you want?" one officer snapped. "You smell like the street. Do you even have a home?" She looked straight into his eyes. "That's none of your business," she replied. That was enough for them. "All right, ma'am. You're under arrest for resisting orders and loitering." She didn't fight back. She simply stood up, picked up her bag, and walked with them. Other people in the park watched. Some even laughed. Nobody stood up for her. Nobody asked who she was. At the police station, the officers brought her in and made her sit on a metal bench. They started filling out forms, still joking around. "She didn't even say her name," one officer said. "Probably some mental case." The sergeant walked over and asked, "Did you get any ID?" The younger officer shook his head. "Nope, just her bag. Let's check it." They opened the backpack. Inside was a water bottle, an old journal, and a plastic folder. Inside the folder was an ID. The officer laughed. "Oh, wow, look at this. Says she's a general, U.S. Army." He laughed again. Fake for sure, but the sergeant took the ID and looked at it carefully. His smile faded. He scanned it using the system. Suddenly the screen flashed red. Access. Restricted. High-level clearance. The sergeant's hands began to shake. "Where did you say you found her?" he asked. "In the park. She was just sitting. There." The sergeant didn't respond. He picked up the phone and made a call. The room goes silent. Minutes later, a black car stopped outside the station. A tall man in a black suit stepped in. Behind him were two military officers. He didn't speak to anyone. He walked straight to the woman. She stood up quietly. He saluted her. "General West, we've been looking for you." Everyone in the room froze. The two officers behind him also saluted. The room that was filled with laughter was now dead silent. The young police officers stood still, shocked, pale-faced. "She's a real general?" one whispered. "Not just a general," the man in black said. "She's a war hero, one of the highest-ranked officers in U.S. history. You arrested a legend. She could lead armies, but chose to walk away in silence." The woman known as General West sat quietly in the back of the military vehicle. She didn't speak, didn't ask questions. Her eyes looked out the window, lost in old memories. The young officer sitting beside her kept stealing glances. He had read about her in training. The first woman to lead a rescue unit in the Middle East, a soldier who earned medals for courage, and a name that once made enemies afraid. Now she was sitting like any ordinary person. Tired, quiet, dressed, like someone with nothing. Who was she really? And why did she disappear? Flashback. A star. In uniform. Years ago, General West was not just respected. She was feared and admired. She was known for her calm mind, strong heart, and ability to make decisions under fire. Her missions were dangerous: war zones, hostage rescues, and secret operations. She never lost a soldier under her command. One mission made her famous. Her team rescued 42 children from a war zone in Syria while under heavy fire. That day, the president personally called to thank her. Her photo was on every newspaper. They said she was a national treasure. But 1 year later, she vanished. The day she left, nobody understood why a high-ranking officer would just disappear. She didn't retire officially. She didn't take her medals. She didn't even say goodbye. She just walked out of the base one morning and never returned. Some people said she was broken inside. Others said she saw something she couldn't forget. Only one thing was clear: she didn't want to be found. Back to the present, in the military office, officers stood as she entered. Some tried to salute. She gently shook her head. "No salutes. I'm not in uniform anymore." The commander, General Paul, welcomed her. "We're glad you're safe, ma'am. But why now? Why come back?" She sat down and looked at the photo on the wall. "Oh, photo of soldiers lost in a bombing 5 years ago." Her voice cracked slightly. "I didn't come back," she said. "You dragged me back." A secret pain later, she sat in a small room, alone, quiet. Her hand reached into her old backpack. She took out a tiny bracelet. Old, rusted, but clearly precious. It belonged to a child, her daughter. Few people knew that behind the brave general was a mother. Years ago, while she was on a mission, her home was attacked. Her husband and 7-year-old daughter were caught in the crossfire of a domestic terror attack. She returned from war to silence. That day, something broke inside her. "I was saving lives," she once said, "but I couldn't save my own family." She stopped taking missions. She lost faith in systems, medals, and power. She didn't hate the world. She just didn't want to be part of it anymore. A visit. To the graveyard at night, she left the base without telling anyone. She walked for miles until she reached a small graveyard outside the city. 2 small graves sat under an old tree. She knelt down, placed the bracelet on one, and touched the cold. "Stone! I thought I could hide from pain," she whispered, "but it always finds me." Tears rolled down her face, silent and slow, just like her life had become. Back at the station, the officers who arrested her were still shocked. One of them, Officer Lucas, searched her name online. He saw videos, speeches, and missions. He read how she pulled a wounded soldier from burning wreckage. He read about the awards she refused. "Why did she never tell us who she was?" he asked. His partner replied, "Maybe because she wanted us to treat her like a human, not a hero." They both looked down, ashamed. Her name was written in history, but she chose to live in silence. The news spread fast. Homeless woman arrested turns out to be U.S. general. War hero wrongly arrested by local officers. General West returns after disappearing for years. Every TV channel, social media post, and newspaper had her picture. But she didn't care. She was not hiding anymore. But she didn't want the spotlight either. A room full of questions. In a secure military office, General West sat across from a group of high officials. They looked nervous, unsure how to speak. "Ma'am, we had no idea you were still in the country," one officer said. "We thought you had disappeared." She stayed silent for a moment, then replied calmly, "I didn't disappear. I just stopped answering." Another officer asked, "Why didn't you come back? We needed you. The country needed you." She looked at him with tired eyes. "I served this country for 28 years. I gave everything. And then I lost everything." A file of her life won. Young soldier entered the room holding a file. It was her record. He placed it on the table with respect. Inside were pages filled with medals, achievements, and photos from missions. But what stood out the most was the last page. Status: missing, assumed retired or deceased, the young. Soldier looked confused. "Ma'am, with respect, why didn't you tell us who you were when you were arrested?" She smiled softly. "Would it have made a difference?" The room went quiet. Public reaction. Outside the base, hundreds of people gathered. Some were veterans. Some were reporters. Many were just curious citizens. They held signs. "Welcome back, General West. We're sorry. You are not forgotten." One woman in the crowd held a picture of her brother, a soldier who had once served under General West. She wiped her tears and whispered, "She saved my brother's life. We owe her everything." A visit from the president. The next morning, a special car arrived. The President of the United States had come in person. He walked into the room, shook her hand, and said, "Ma'am, we failed you. You served us with honor, and we didn't protect you when it mattered." She replied softly, "I didn't need protection. I needed peace." He paused, then said, "We would like to honor you again, publicly." But she shook her head. "I'm not here for medals. I just came back to say goodbye." Who she really was, as the world watched, stories about her life began to unfold. She was born in a small town. Her father was a mechanic, her mother a teacher. She joined the army at 18. She rose through the ranks by earning respect, not demanding it. She never took credit for success, always gave it to her team. She was more than a soldier. She was a leader, a protector, a mother, a survivor, and even after losing everything, she stayed strong. The officers who arrested her back at the local police station, Officer Lucas, couldn't sleep. He felt guilty, ashamed. He walked into the office and said to his boss, "Sir, I want to apologize to her, face to face." The chief nodded. "Good. It takes a real man to admit a mistake." Lucas and his partner were taken to the military base. They stood in front of General West. He looked down and said, "Ma'am, we are so sorry." She disappeared from the world after saving it one last time. General West stood near the window of her temporary military room. Outside, soldiers walked with pride. Orders were being shouted. Flags waved high, but her mind was far away, lost in a memory that haunted her every night. 5 years ago. The secret mission, it was a dry, hot evening in the Middle East. General West had received a call, not from the army, but from a private line. An American intelligence agent had gone missing in a hostile village. The enemy was armed and the mission was unofficial. "You don't have to take this, General," her commander had said. "Too dangerous. No backup, no credit." She looked him in the eyes and replied, "He's one of ours. That's enough." Without uniforms, without medals, and without support, she picked 6 of her best men. They flew in under the radar, the village of shadows. The place was deadly. Sandstorms covered tracks. Snipers watched from rooftops. The enemy was everywhere, but invisible. Her team moved like shadows. One wrong move and none would return. After 2 days of searching, they found the missing agent, tied up, beaten, and surrounded by explosives. Time was running out. She took the risk herself. While her men covered her from a distance, she crawled through narrow alleyways, past guards, past hidden bombs. She reached the agent just in time. She whispered, "I'm here. You're going home." The escape. But they were seen. Gunfire broke out. Dust filled the air. Her team fought fiercely. She carried the agent on her back, running through fire and fear. One of her men got hit. She didn't. "Leave him!" She went back and pulled him behind cover. She tied his wound with her scarf and ordered the rest to move. All three made it out alive. But something changed in her that night. The betrayal back at the base. There was no welcome, no honor, no handshake. Instead, she was told to forget the mission. "This never happened, General," a senior officer told her. "The government denies involvement." She was shocked. Her team risked everything. One lost his leg. Another was in a coma. And now they were being erased? Why? She asked. Politics was the only answer. She looked around and realized she was standing in a world that valued power more than people. That was the day she left everything behind. Returned to the present, General West sat with her old journal in her lap. She opened to the last page. A picture was taped inside. The missing agent she saved, smiling with his family. He had once sent her a letter that said, "You didn't just save my life, you saved my future." She closed the journal and smiled softly. That was enough for her. She didn't need medals. She didn't want credit. She just wanted to matter. Officer Lucas learns the truth. Officer Lucas, still feeling guilty, kept reading about her past online. But this mission, the most dangerous one, was not in any record until he found a small blog written by the rescued agent. In it, he wrote, "She never asked for thanks. She only asked us to remember those who never came back." Lucas felt tears in his eyes. He finally understood why she disappeared. She didn't leave the army because she was weak. She left because the truth had become too heavy. A quiet hero that night. General West stood alone outside the base, looking at the stars. One young soldier walked up and said, "Ma'am, can I ask something?" She nodded. "After everything you did, after all those brave missions, how did you walk away so quietly?" She took a deep breath and replied, "Loud exits are for those who need attention. I just needed peace." The soldier saluted her with respect. For the first time in years, she smiled. She never planned to return, until one call changed everything. For years, General West had lived in silence. She stayed far away from the city, from news, from people. She didn't want to be found. She didn't want to remember. But life has a strange way of pulling people back. It was one phone call, one quiet evening. The phone that never rang. She was living in a small cabin near the mountains. No TV, no internet. Just trees, wind, and a few books. Her phone, old and dusty, was kept off most days. But that day she had a strange feeling and turned it on. Almost immediately it rang. Unknown number. She stared at the screen. Something inside her said, "Answer it." The voice from the past, a young voice, spoke. "Is this General West?" She stayed silent. "My name is Private Jenkins. I know you don't know me, but I'm the son of Captain Ray Jenkins. He served under you on the last mission." Suddenly, her heart stopped for a second. She remembered Ray. Strong, brave, always laughing. He didn't make it back from that secret mission. His son continued, "I found your name in my dad's old journal. He wrote that he trusted you with his life." Then his voice broke. "I need your help. I think something's wrong inside. The military. Something my dad died for. Please. You're the only one I can trust." She couldn't say no. That call changed everything. She hadn't worn her uniform in years. She hadn't walked into a base in years. But now, she was preparing to return, not for herself, not for medals, but for a promise she made long ago. No soldier gets left behind, not even in death. Back in the system, her return shocked everyone. Some respected her, some feared her. Some higher officials weren't happy to see her back. "Why now?" one colonel asked her sharply. She looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm here because a soldier's son believes the army has a secret, one we buried long ago, and I want the truth." Meeting Jenkins, General West finally met Private Jenkins in person. He was only 22. Young, nervous, but brave. He showed her letters, files, and a USB drive his father had hidden. Inside it was a video. The secret video it was a short video, filmed by Captain Jenkins during the secret mission years ago. The video showed a group of soldiers rescuing the agent. A clear order from high command: leave the injured soldier. Do not go back. But General West's voice replied, "We don't leave anyone. I'm going back." She broke the order. She saved lives. But that moment exposed something bigger. The mission had illegal goals, not to save a life, but to cover a secret deal. The military covered it up. They blamed the losses on enemy fire, but it wasn't the enemy. It was betrayal from inside, why they feared her return. Now it made sense, why her files were hidden, why the mission was erased, why she was asked to disappear quietly. She was dangerous to them, not because of weapons, but because of truth. The weight of truth. Private Jenkins looked at her and asked, "What will you do now, ma'am?" She didn't answer for a moment. Then she said, "I didn't come back for revenge. I came back to finish what I started, and to protect soldiers like your father." He nodded, his eyes full of hope. She added, "But we must be careful. They're watching." She didn't come to fight with guns. She came to fight with truth. The room was quiet. The lights were low. General West sat alone, staring at the USB drive Jenkins gave her. Inside that small device was everything: the truth, the lies, and the proof that could shake the whole system. But telling the truth was never easy, especially when powerful people wanted it buried. The plan General West called Private Jenkins to her side. "We must act smart," she said. "If we go public too soon, they will silence us. We need to build the story first, carefully." Together they made a plan. First, collect more proof. Second, connect with trusted old teammates. Third, release the truth to the right people, people who wouldn't be scared to share it. Reuniting the old team, she began reaching out to her old soldiers. Some were retired, some were injured, some had lost all hope. But when they heard her voice again, something inside them woke up. One by one, they agreed to help. "We trusted you once, ma'am," said Sergeant Lee. "We'll trust you again." The hidden evidence with their help? She found more. Secret documents proving the mission had hidden. Goals. Emails between generals showing a deal with arms dealers. Audio recordings of higher officers saying, "If she talks, we're finished." Each piece of evidence was like a puzzle, and now the picture was becoming clear. Enemies in uniform one evening, a black car parked near her base. Two men in suits stepped out. Without saying their names, they handed her a letter. "Stand down." "General, you're digging too deep." She looked at the letter, a warning, not a request. Then she said calmly, "I don't take orders from shadows." They stepped back, surprised. "You're making powerful enemies," one man whispered. She replied, "I face tanks and bullets. I'm not afraid of cowards in suits." A message to the world. She sent a video message to a trusted military news reporter. In the video, she said, "I'm not here to destroy the army. I'm here to protect the heart of it, the soldiers. We ask them to give their lives. The least we can do is give them the truth." She added documents, video proof, and witness statements. Then she clicked send. There was no turning back. The explosion of truth. Within hours, the video went viral. News channels picked it up. Veterans stood with her. Citizens asked questions. Leaders started panicking. Hashtags flooded social media. Cast justice for soldiers. Truth with West. She came back. The world was listening now. They tried to silence her. 2 nights later, a break-in happened near her cabin, but she was already gone. She had moved quietly, changing locations every few hours. She knew how these people worked. She had trained most of them. Now she was outsmarting them. Hope begins to rise. In a small town, a mother lit a candle beside her son's photo. He died in the same mission General West had once led. Tears in her eyes, she whispered, "You didn't die for nothing." She's telling the world now. From small towns to big cities, people began to speak up. Soldiers, families, even former officers. They all said the same thing. She didn't return to be a hero. She returned so no soldier would ever be forgotten again. The world had changed in just a few days. People were no longer silent. The truth had become a fire, and General West lit the match. But now came the hardest part, facing those in power. The Senate hearing, a large room, cameras everywhere, journalists in every seat. It was time for the official military investigation. General West walked into the courtroom alone. No lawyer, no bodyguards, just a folder in her hand. The truth. She took the stand. The whole world was watching. Her words, one of the senators asked coldly, "Why did you go silent all these years?" She replied calmly, "Because I was tired of seeing good soldiers suffer for the mistakes of powerful men." Another asked, "Do you have proof that high-ranking officers betrayed their own men?" She placed the folder on the table. Inside, emails, videos, names, voices, everything. Then she looked into the camera and spoke directly to the people. "I did not return to break this system. I returned to fix it, or at least try. I speak today for those who can't, for those who were told to follow orders, even when the orders were wrong, and for those still waiting for truth. I see you, I hear you, and I won't stay silent." Again, the aftershock. The hearing ended in silence. But the next morning, the noise began. 3 generals resigned. 2 were arrested. A public apology was made by the military leadership, and a new law was passed. No mission shall be erased. No soldier shall be forgotten. The nation responds. People gathered in streets to show support. Veterans cried as they watched her speech on repeat. Families of lost soldiers finally felt seen. Even young recruits said, "She made us proud to wear the uniform." Private Jenkins stood beside her, now stronger, more confident. "You did it," he whispered. She looked at him and said, "No, we did it." A letter from the president one evening. She received a sealed letter. It was from the president. It said, "You reminded us what leadership truly means. The country may give you awards, but what you gave us is greater. Courage to face ourselves. Back to the quiet life." After everything, General West didn't stay in the city. She returned to her small cabin in the woods. No cameras, no noise, just peace. But now the phone rings sometimes. A young soldier asking for advice. A widow thanking her. A school inviting her to speak. And every time she answers with kindness. Because now, her silence was filled with purpose.